Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Frank. So this was a first time watch for me. I just saw it pop up on my feed on Tubi. Uh, I read the description, I thought it seemed interesting, and I was slightly familiar with the lead, Donald Gleason. I mainly know him from this random movie Sensation. I just bought it on DVD a couple years ago and I thought it was a pretty cool movie. So yeah, I recognized him from that. I read the description of this movie. I thought it was cool. So, you know, I checked it out, and after checking it out, my overall opinion of the movie is that it's pretty darn good. It was different than I expected, and it was pretty weird, and at some points in the movie I was a little bit frustrated with certain things, but overall the movie was pretty darn good. So there you go. That's my overall opinion. Now I'm going to jump into a plot summary. So the story focuses on John, played by Donald Gleason, and John is an aspiring musician. One day he's walking on the beach and there's this band. They're all at the beach because their keyboardist is trying to drown himself, so he's got to get his stomach pumped, and the band of course needs a keyboardist. So John's like, hey, I play keyboard, and they invite him to this gig, and shortly after that they invite him to record with them in this cabin in the woods, and he thinks it's going to be a couple days, but it turns out being a year. So yeah, you know he's like the official keyboardist in the band, and yeah, it turns out being a whole year that they're taking to record this album in this cabin. And throughout that time that they're recording, oh yeah, I forgot to mention too, this is like the main thing in the movie, the band is really eccentric. They're all really weird, and the lead singer, Frank, he wears this mask, and he never takes it off. It's not just like when he's performing. He never takes it off. He like eats through like a straw. He has like a liquid diet. He eats through a straw. So yeah, the band is a little weird, and the lead singer wears a mask. Will never ever 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 take it off. So yeah, gotta mention that. That's an integral part of the movie. So, anyways, while the band is recording this album throughout a year's time, John is taking videos of them and posting about them on social media, and they gain a little bit of a following. Uh, you know, Once they gain this little bit of a buzz, they get booked to do a show at South by Southwest, and that's like that's a big situation for them. So it seems like it's all good, but once they get there, most of the band members have a falling out. They pretty much break up, and the only people who stay to perform are John and Frank. But like while they're performing, Frank has a breakdown, and then after this, Frank just disappears. So yeah, for the rest of the movie, John is trying to find Frank, and he's also trying to reconcile with his other band members. So that is the basic plot summary. The first point that I want to touch on is this was like early on in the movie, before John even joined the band. He was just like recording his own stuff at his house, and he was just like walking around coming up with ideas for lyrics, and he has like an idea, for some lyrics, and then he gets home and his parents are like, eat dinner with us, and he's like, no, I can't eat dinner, I got an idea for a song, and he immediately goes upstairs and starts recording. I really like that, and I relate to that. So like I rap, and I'm like that. I'm exactly like that. So, you know, if I have if I have an idea for lyrics, I have to write the idea down immediately because I'll forget. So it's like if I'm driving and I have an idea for lyrics, I have to write them down the first stop I come to. Not like at a red light. You know, I'm not out here, you know, on my phone while driving. I'm a pillar of society. I'm a good Samaritan, you know. And for YouTube, I can't disclose that I do illegal activities. So, you know, I don't go on the phone in the car. I stay safe out here. But anyways, it's like if I come up with an idea while I'm driving, like right when I get home, right when I park, I gotta write all the lyrics that I came up with. Like I can't even wait to go in the house because like I feel like if I walk 2 steps in the house, I'll forget the lyrics, you know. Or if I wake up and I have a bunch of ideas for lyrics and I start writing a lot, I'm like I have to finish writing the whole song. I have to record this morning because, you know, it's like the ideas are just flowing. I'm in that kind of manic creative state right now. I'm like I just gotta go with it when I feel like it and when, you know, I'm pumping out these ideas, or else like if I wait till tomorrow I won't be in that same uh, like flow state, you know. So I totally resonated with John's character in that regard, where he's like, I got these ideas, I gotta record now. I'm all gung-ho about recording because that's how I get when I'm, you know, about to record lyrics. Like whenever I get ideas, I'm like, I just gotta stop what I'm doing. I gotta write the whole song, record the whole song, finish it now, you know. Like, so yeah, I really like that. I related to that. Moving on. So this movie, like when I initially read this movie was different than I expected. Like when I initially read the plot summary, I thought that when John joined the band, they were already this big, famous band, but that was not the case. Like they were like unknown. They were not popping at all. And then I also thought, like as I was watching the movie, when he initially joined the band and like, you know, was gonna do a gig with them and was gonna record with them, I thought like at that point like, oh, if he's joining the band and they're doing gigs and they're going to remote cabins to record albums, like they must be popping. But they were really not popping at all until John came to the mix and, you know, started posting these videos with them, and he had to like guide them to make more mainstream stuff. They were like way crazy, experimental, and yeah, the movie was just different than I thought. I thought it was gonna like follow a touring band, and you know they were already famous, and I thought the comedy was gonna be like a little bit more light. Like, oh yeah, there's this guy, and he never takes off his mask, and you know it's funny. Like the comedy in this was a little bit more subtle and it was darker, but also this movie it, it was different than I expected because the tone of it was, like I said, like this movie is very weird. It was a lot weirder than I anticipated, and the tone was all over the place. It was uneven, but not in a bad way. It was uneven and it still really worked. It's like it's comedic here, but then it's super depressing, you know. It's a drama, it's a comedy. What is it? I don't know. Like this movie was all over the place, and it was just, it like ebbed and flowed. It just went in like so many different directions, but it totally worked. It wasn't focused, but it didn't feel like it didn't feel like they just like threw it together. Like it didn't feel like the filmmakers threw it together. It felt like they knew this was going to be kind of all over the place, slightly chaotic story, but it was like they went about it in a strategic way. Like it was meant to be like that, and there was like a lot of planning to make the movie turn out like that, if that makes sense. And yeah, the comedy was like a lot more. Like I thought, like the comedy was gonna be more straightforward. The comedy in this was way more like quirky than I initially thought. So yeah, this movie definitely was a little bit different than I expected, but not in a bad way, because overall I did enjoy it. And then moving on to another point, this movie for me was frustrating at times. Not that the movie was like it wasn't due to the fact that the movie was bad, but I was just, when you're like following a character, you're following a story. It's like when you're like yelling at a movie, like look behind you. Like the whole time I was watching this movie, I'm just thinking, like why is John even bothering like joining this band? Like he's so talented himself, and you know this movie, at this point, this movie is like a little bit older, 2014, but that's still like, it's not that old. Like at that time, people were popping off on the internet doing their solo stuff. Like, internet musicians, like net music was a big thing during that time, so it's like, I feel like he didn't even really need a band. He could have just like put out his solo stuff and he could have been popping, and he was pretty good at marketing it. He was pretty good with social media. Like I was just frustrated a lot of the time. I was like, why does he even need to be in the band? But then on the other hand, I was also thinking like, the fact that he was in this eccentric, wacky band, that kind of led to him like being discovered, because they kind of garnered this following because they were just so wacky, and people were like, are these people real? Are they serious? Is it an act? Like there was just the fact that he was in this band of strange individuals kind of led to him being known. So yeah, I guess it's a double-edged sword. I don't know, but I was frustrated at times. And then yeah, so I kind of already talked about the movie going in different directions, but yeah, like it dealt with some serious dramatic stuff. Like dealt with like a lot of interpersonal relationship stuff, a lot of tension with the band. I like that. There was the movie dealt with death. It dealt with mental illness. So yeah, like even though a lot of the movie was lighter, it was comedic, it did deal with some serious topics, and I did like a lot of that, like a lot of those themes. It was they did it in a respectful way, so that was cool. And yeah, most of the comedy came from the band. Like it's almost like satirical. Like the band was so eccentric and artsy. It was like almost kind of making fun of some musicians, not specific ones, but with creative people like musicians or filmmakers or painters. Sometimes they're like really egotistical. Like they kind of like think that they're more important than they are, and they have to like go about everything in such a crazy way. Like the way that they recorded this, they're just like recording random sounds in the woods, and every sound has to be a new sound. Like we're just gonna record a tree, and we're gonna post up in a cabin in the woods, and it's gonna take so long to record the album. Like some artsy people do have that, like they have that like self-importance, and they think they're doing something like way greater than they're really doing. It's like they might make cool music, but they have to like they gotta be so artsy, and they gotta be so different, and they gotta be so extra, so like most of the comedy came from that, because these people, they were so artsy, they were so extra, and nobody in real life is like that artsy. I mean, I don't know about, I don't, like, if you look at Frank, I don't know of a musician who wears a mask but never takes it off. You know, like acts like, you know, Daft Punk, Dead Mouse, Marshmello. Those, you know, they wear the mask when they're performing, and sometimes, you know, some of those acts they wear the mask in, you know, press appearances. But you know, when they get home, they take it off. I don't know if there's any uh, musical act in real life that just always wears a mask and, you know, just records trees and whatever. So yeah, and then jumping in my last point here, I didn't look into this movie at all. Like, besides reading the short plot synopsis, I didn't look into this movie at all before watching it, so I didn't get spoiled at all. So later on in the movie, like, I was anticipating, like, when are we gonna see Frank? When are we gonna see his real face? We do get to see his real face, and to me, it was so satisfying. I love that. Also, the ending for this, like, initially when I saw the ending, I was like, what the heck? Like, that's it? But then I kind of started to think about it more, and I'm like, you know what? It is kind of a interesting ending. It's what this movie has, one of those endings where everything's not all spelled out, and you kind of have to come to your own conclusions, and you do have to kind of think about it a little bit. So it's like, it can mean, you know, it's more subjective. Like, different people could think different stuff about the ending. It's not like spelled out in your face. So initially I wasn't really rocking with the ending, but after giving it like a little bit of thought, I think the ending is pretty cool. And I do sometimes like those endings, or just movies in general, that make you think, like, well after you've watched the movie. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, I'm gonna jump into my recommendation. So I think Frank was a pretty darn cool movie. People who are into music, people who record music themselves, I think will get a kick out of this. Yeah, this is yeah, Frank is cool. It's on Tubi right now for free. So yeah, I would definitely recommend watching it. Definitely check it out. So yeah, that's been my recommendation, and that's been my review of Frank. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.